Hey there, today we're going to talk about trauma-informed coaching strategies for fearful adult swimmers. So this is one that is really great for both people who work with students and if you identify as a fearful adult or a beginning adult swimmer, and how we can heal from trauma or know when trauma is being activated in your learn to swim process. If you're a coach, a teacher, really any human that works with other humans, understanding how to be trauma-informed when you are working with people is really, really useful. It's because all of us, all humans, have some sort of trauma. What they call big T trauma or small t trauma. And it's really useful for us as practitioners and us as individuals to be able to identify and recognize when those trauma responses are being activated. It's something that we see quite frequently in the water, and it makes sense because when you're learning to swim, you're a beginner swimmer. At the end of the day, part of that journey means you don't have access to air, and part of that journey means that you have a lot of physical stimulus. And part of that journey means you're tackling a lot with your mind and your thoughts and what's going on up in your brain. That kind of combination is very ripe for activating some past trauma, or it's very ripe for healing, to put yourself on purpose into a situation where there's a certain amount of stimulus that you get to say, okay, I'm in here on purpose to be able to show and understand when that there isn't actually a problem, but it's something that's being activated in me. I want to start with telling you a little story about one of our students. Her name was Rhonda, She's still with us. When Rhonda was a teen, she worked as a camp counselor for a summer camp kind of thing. And as these things go, when all the kids were in bed and in their cabins, and the counselors had some time off, or at least a segment of them. I'm assuming some of them were still watching the kiddos. But they went down to the beach and they were having a good time, as teenagers do, right? And they're wading and swimming, sort of, in the lake that this camp is at. And what is prone to happen in open water situations, this is very normal in open water, is that it's not a consistent slope, that there are places where there can be dip-offs. Well, Rhonda came to one of those places, lost her footing, went underwater unexpectedly, and she had to have somebody rescue her. Right? This was a pivotal moment for her that left a trauma response in her body. She didn't heal that at the time. She moved on with her life, right? It was very terrifying. It was very embarrassing, had lots of emotions that were around it that kind of like, all right, let's just shake it off and move on, as one does. Years and years later, after she'd made sure her kids learned how to swim, her grandkids learned how to swim, she's coming back and saying, it's my turn. And if coming to me, we could start with just the physical skills. And there's quite a ways that we could go with working on the physical skills. But it isn't until we addressed the trauma response that was coming up that she was really able to get the physical skills to stick. When we're just working on the level of do this with your arms and do that and break it into these smaller steps, but we're not dealing with seeing that there's a response happening. And the response comes up, you may have heard these trauma responses of fight or flight or freeze. And there's also another one now people are talking about, which is fawn. I kind of put it in a little bit of that like people-pleasing kind of category. So I, as a teacher, I am looking for these responses. Maybe they're in a big way. Usually not, but they're oftentimes in subtle ways. This fight or flight comes in quick, sudden movements, or things that a student is doing without a lot of intention behind it. putting the face in the water, feeling the buoyancy of the water, and they take their face out. They come out. And I might ask them, did you mean to take your face out, or did it just sort of seem to be happening? And when it's on that side of it, just sort of seems to be happening, then we're dealing with there's a little something there that they're not in charge of. And well, I could tick the box of put their face in the water, and they may even said, I'm happy, I'm good. A little bit of people pleasing for themselves and for you as the teacher. I want to look deeper at those other clues when they are just coming out of the water just because it seems like it's time, versus it being a decision, versus it being slow, versus it being at ease. We want to make sure that we're taking care of that trauma response where things just seem to be happening. When something has happened to somebody before, like Rhonda, who lost her footing unexpectedly, it's a very out of control situation. And oftentimes when that happens, we have a loss of trust with the world, with particular people, with particular environments, and or ourselves. We don't trust that we're going to be able to navigate a new and scary situation or a new and potentially dangerous situation. So grounding our teaching, grounding the learning process in building trust with ourselves is where we're going to start to see some healing and, again, have the skills actually be sticky, to actually I get the skill. I understand what's happening versus I'm just doing it because somebody told me to do it. If we want to regain our trust, regain our power, to heal from this trauma response, us as practitioners and us as learners need to have our focus on starting there, to listen to our bodies, to listen to what it needs, to slowing things down and paying more attention to taking care of our emotional well-being, knowing that is what's going to be the key to understanding, implementing, mastering the physical steps. If you have any questions about this, if this brings something up for you, I'd love to hear about it. Put it down in the comments, shoot us an email, join one of our free classes. We'd love to hear from you. Take really good care of your heart, and it will in turn take care of you and your swimming. Aloha.